Chapter 4. The Big City at Last, through a set of new eyes. The city looked different as he walked away from the police station. He was surprisingly grateful for the ordeals he had gone through in the recent weeks. But in the back of his mind, he couldn't help think about his family, who was back in the village. Having made such a big deal about relocating, they must have been wondering what happened to him during the few weeks he was away. He had to find a way to get word back to his family and let them know he was still safe and sound. He asked Murray where the local telephone booths were, and since the phone number of the closest person to his parents was back with his belongings, he had first to find a way back to the bus park. Murray took him to the bus park. On his way, he couldn't help but feel that there was something different about the city. The colours seemed a bit dull. The lustre that he had once marvelled at had disappeared. Could it be due to the fact that the city had dealt him a bad hand, where he had seen so much promise? I guess so. All he could feel was that this time things are different. On arrival at the bus park, the guard who helped him was so surprised as he openly told Shei how he had thought the worst had happened to him, and that he had become another victim of the city. He narrated his ordeal to the guard, who could not help but laugh uncontrollably. His laughter seemed to infect Murray, who joined him. After expressing his sincere gratitude to the guard, they headed off to Murray's place, since the phone booth Murray knew was located near his home. Murray didn't have any money, so they decided to walk. Not that Shei couldn't pay for the fare to his place, but he chose to intentionally leave out the fact that he had received money from the policeman in any of his conversations. He was less trusting of everyone and more cautious about what he divulged to people. Murray's place was an hour's walk from the city. Canby was a fairly clean slum, filled with many shanty houses clumped up together in uneven clusters, separated by narrow walkways and dug earth drainage trenches. He couldn't understand how people could live on such a small piece of land, but unlike the village, people here were content. There were all manner of activities going on, but what drew his attention most was the aroma coming from the small roadside vendors. Murray saw he was hungry, so he took him to one who seemed to know Murray. He gave them both small plates filled with deep-fried fish cuts, topped with chips, like potatoes drizzled with what to Shei looked like thick milk, tartar sauce, and a lemon wedge on the side. It was the tastiest thing he had ever eaten. Murray told the vendor he would sort out the bill later, and they left and walked for another 5 minutes before arriving at a small blue gate, which was opened by kicking. Murray had a fairly simple yet modern house. He had a good radio system, which was a big sign of success in the village. The dirt and dust around the house made Shei know he wasn't married, since it didn't look like a woman had spent a single minute there. He was directed to where he should sleep, and since time had eluded them, they opted to sleep and touch base in the morning. Catch me next time for the continuation of Shei's adventures in the big city.